Are you considering Smartsheet or Microsoft Teams? Are you not sure what platform is best for you, whether you are a small and independent business or you work for a larger organisation? Well, either way, then you've come to the right place, because today I'm going to be comparing Smartsheet and Microsoft Teams. We're going to be taking a look at both and reviewing them, and we're going to find out what is best for your own context. So as part of this video, we are going to look at 5 key things. The first, we're going to look at the companies themselves. We're then going to go into a demo. I'm going to be showing you some of the functionality of both platforms. I'm going to open this up live, so do stick around for that. We're going to be comparing the pricing. We're also going to be looking at other customer reviews, so it's not just my own opinion. I should state at this point, I have been using Teams for the last 3 years and Smartsheet for the last 5 years. I actually use both in my organisation, and we have fluctuated between the two at different times and on different projects. So perhaps I can explain more of that in due course, but I do have a lot of experience using both. And at the end, I'm going to give you my recommendations for what one I think is best for the different use cases. So if we start with the company overview, let's first look at Smartsheet. So Smartsheet was initially founded in 2006, and at the time of recording, it has around 800,000 paid users. Do bear in mind that this is the numbers released by Smartsheet, so it may be a little bit different in reality. The operating systems it supports are Mac, Windows and Linux. And it has compatibility for Android and iOS devices, so you can use those devices to access the platform. The deployment is cloud and mobile, so I've mentioned the mobile aspect there. Cloud meaning that all of your data is saved in the cloud, so it's kind of not shared on local computers, and which means that you can access the data at any time, but you do need a internet connection. So in terms of high-level overview, if you're not really sure what Smartsheet does, well, it's a work collaboration and project management software tool first and foremost. So it has a spreadsheet-like interface and various different views. So the idea of Smartsheet is that teams can manage projects, they can create custom workflows, produce reporting, and also benefit from things like automation. And we'll look at that in due course in the demo. Now, if you head over to Teams, this was released in 2017. I believe it was being kind of finalized over the years prior to that, but that's when it kind of become popular. And as you'll see there, a significant amount of users, around 270 million. It's not clarified at this stage how many are paid. So there is a free account, so we don't know that kind of breakdown. It's not kind of been released by Teams or that I could find. But just consider that it's got considerably more users. The operating systems that it kind of leverages are Mac, Windows and Linux, so same there, so that should be fine. Mobile compatibility, it also does support Windows devices, which you would expect considering it's a Microsoft product, and the deployment is the same as well, so cloud and mobile, so you can access via your mobile. We can download an app for that, and again, all of your data is stored in the cloud. Now, I had to stop the video there because if you read ahead, you would have noticed that the high-level overview was incorrect. So sorry about that. I have now corrected it. So, and a shameless plug, I did mention Asana, and that's because I've done a review of Asana against other project management tools as well. So you can check that out on my channel. But let's get back to Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams is a business communication platform developed by Microsoft. And it's part of the Microsoft 365 family of products. So, your likes of Office, Excel, Microsoft Project, etc. So they're all kind of included in that. So Teams primarily competes with other similar services. You might have heard of Slack as an example, but it offers workspace chat and video conferencing, file storage and application integration. So if you compare these two side by side, one's more project management based, whereas the other one's more kind of a communications tool. So do consider that because it's an important consideration. Now, before I move on, just consider on the right hand side with the released in 2017 users, that is correct. That is all correct. That is what Microsoft Teams is. That wasn't incorrect before. It was just the high level overview. So just bear that in mind. Now, let's have a look at a demo, shall we? So I'm going to load up Smartsheet first. And I did that very quickly. So quickly I was confused where I am. But anyway, I've loaded up Smartsheet and this is an account. So bear in mind, I am on a trial here. because I do work for an organisation that uses Smartsheet and I need to protect their data. So I just created a brand new trial. Do consider that there is a 30-day trial with Smartsheet and you have access to all of the functionality. So you can kind of explore and test it. So that's something I would suggest you perhaps do. But I have kind of created this ahead of time just to show you how it kind of works. So if we look at this, and another thing I can mention, sorry, this video is a little bit all over the place, is that I have a Smartsheet demo video on my channel, which I think is 50 minutes long, but I'll drop that in the description below if you did want to check that out for kind of more in-depth review of the platform. But let's just give you a high-level overview. This is the interface. As you'll see, it's online. So you basically visit smartsheet.com and you log into your account. On the left-hand side, you have a panel which you can leverage. You've got things like your home, so to go back to the home interface. You've got an area for notifications, so that's to do with the functionality that enables you to collaborate with other users. When you're mentioned, you kind of be notified here. You've got the browse, which is where kind of all your files are stored. Again, remember it's a cloud solution. Recents are recent files that you're kind of operating with in the system. And it just gives you a quick place to go and find what you've been working on most recently. You've got a favorite, so you can find some of your tools quickly. There's work apps as well for integrations with other tools, and there's something known as the Solution Center, which enables you to get templates quickly. If I just quickly show you the tool itself, this is a workspace, and these are the different file types. So you've got folders here. This is a dashboard, and this is the kind of core functionality of Smartsheet. As the name suggests, it's a sheets-based solution. So if I open this up, you'll see it's very, very similar to Microsoft Excel. It is a spreadsheet tool first and foremost, so it enables you to enter data, as we can see here. It's very, very similar in some respects. You've got your columns, you've got your rows. You can add attachments to both. You've also got things like drop downs that you kind of preset. You've also got the ability to have contact columns with individuals. You've also got things like priority health. There's various different column properties that you can kind of set up, including symbols and things like that. You've got obviously links here. You can change all the formatting to include things like currencies. And you'll see here, highlighting over this, that there is used in formulas. So formulas are a big part of Smartsheet, just like they are in Excel. So this is the core of Smartsheet, is all kind of entering data like this. On the right hand side, you have the ability to hold conversations with different users. You can add attachments to different sheets. You can also set up update requests for kind of workflow performances, so you can get people to provide updates at certain points and they can be notified via email for that. You can publish or kind of hide or even share your files should you need to. And you can have a look at activity logs to see who made changes and when. And there's also a summary, which just gives you a high-level overview of what's actually included in the sheet. Obviously, all the formatting at the top. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I do want to show you that dashboards are a big part of Smartsheet, so you can build these. You do need to kind of summarize your data ahead of doing that. But these are the kind of things that you can kind of create, obviously very visual. You can send these to different stakeholders as well. Do bear in mind that there's different user accounts, and I'll talk about that in a moment when we look at the pricing. But different user accounts can do different things in the system. Everything's kind of locked down by default unless you share it. The other thing I'll quickly show is a report. So a report basically enables you to, it's going to start the builder here. We don't want to look at that for now. Basically amalgamate a load of data from different sheets and bring it all into one place. So you could basically have, 10 different, if I go back to here, if I go to this, you could have, 20 different task sheets for different projects, and you could roll them all up into one report, so you don't have to kind of go between them. So that's really, really useful. As I say, that's a really high level overview of Smartsheet. If you do want to check a demo, then check that video in the description, because you're going to get a lot more information. Now let's have a look at Microsoft Teams, shall we? So I've downloaded the app here. It is available online as well. You have the option of working in between both. So you'll see on the left hand side, you've got a similar panel. You've got an activity where you're kind of mentioned, or anything's kind of linked to your account or appear in your feed. You have the chat. So this is where you can set it up with any individual that you work with who also has a Teams account. I've actually created a chat called Project A, so this is an example of how you could perhaps use it. You could chat to anyone, any stakeholder or anyone who's working on the project in this kind of area, and you can attach files as well. So I've attached an Excel project plan just to show you how it kind of work. I've invited someone as well. Now, with this attachment, you have the ability to open it in a browser or even download it. So if you were to download it, you got to kind of consider that it's an offline copy and nobody will be able to kind of see the changes you make. But if you do open it in the browser, if you make changes, then it's going to save in Teams with the latest save or file, so that anyone who kind of has access will be able to see what you've kind of done here. You have the option to meet other individuals. So you can have like a video conferencing conversation, and there is also a calendar where you can put in, you know, what's going on, and you can connect it to your Google Calendar as well, should you want to. But imagine if you're kind of using this on a day-to-day basis, you'd have different chats with lots of different individuals. You can also have something called teams or places, and in that you could set up loads of different projects and loads of different files. So it does require a little bit of management, but you can absolutely share files, you can absolutely build stuff in here. Just do consider that you are leveraging Microsoft 365 products. So as you'll see it here, it's Excel. So you do need to kind of know how to use these, and you will be kind of building everything in these underlying products. It's not actually in Teams itself. So there's no kind of, if you compare it to Smartsheet has its own dashboard functionality. There's no Teams dashboards. It's something you'd have to create and attach. So do kind of consider that in terms of your workflow. Now let's have a quick look at the pricing, because your budget may dictate what's best for you here. So if we start with Smartsheet, as you can see, you probably tell by my British accent, I am from London. So it is by default in pounds, but I believe if you were to run the exchange rate, it's very, very similar. So I believe for the Pro account in the States, it's around $7 a month for one user. Now the way Smartsheet works with pricing is, if you look closely, you basically pay on a user per month basis. So if you've got kind of multiple users in your account, then this will quickly add up. So if you've got kind of 3 users, this will be kind of £15, kind of etc. There is a 30-day trial that I mentioned. Most people can't really get away with Pro. If you look closely, there's actually quite a few limitations in terms of what you can do. So you can only have a dashboard with 10 widgets as an example, and you're likely going to want more than that. There's limitations on viewers, and there's just not all of the kind of functionality that you get with the business, which is why it's recommended. So the business is a lot more kind of, includes a lot more, but you are looking at a much greater price. The minimum is 3 users. So when it says £19 a user, a business license or account is going to cost you, God, I've got to do maths now, 19 times 3. So I think it's 50, 19, maths isn't good. 38 plus 19, whatever that is, 50 something. It's around 50 something pounds a month. Obviously in dollars, that would be slightly different. And you can either pay monthly or annually. That's kind of applicable for most small teams. Enterprise is for large organizations where you need a lot of users, and as you'll see here, there's no actual price. It'll be a bespoke price that you have to agree with the sales team. So if that's you will need to kind of do that. Now if we compare it to Teams, you might have a look at the prices and actually immediately notice that it is actually cheaper, but do bear in mind it depends on what you need to use Teams for. Chances are you probably don't need both. You could use one or the other. You could use both, and it depends obviously on your budget as well. Now, what I should have mentioned, sorry, about Smartsheet, is you can have a free account. So if you've got a 30-day trial, when that runs out, if you don't sign up to a plan, then you will kind of convert over to their free account. You're very limited with what you can do. So you can view sheets, I believe you can contribute sheets, but you can't create anything new. So a free account in Smartsheet is very limited. You're basically looking at viewing stuff and maybe making a few simple edits, but you can't make big edits. So Smartsheet doesn't really have a free account per se, like it does with Teams. So Teams, free account. So you can basically join group meetings for up to 60 minutes. I believe that's per month. You can only join group meetings for up to 60 minutes at a time. You can only join or have meetings with 100 participants at a time. There's obviously limits on cloud storage as well. You can have unlimited chat. So most people will go to the essentials, which provides you a little bit more. You've got a lot more kind of group meeting time, more kind of individuals or participants in each meeting, greater storage. Now, if you're kind of a business, you're probably leaning towards these. Again, consider these are in the UK pounds, and that's due to my VPN and where I'm logging in from. So if you're in the States, consider that this will be slightly different, a little bit more, but just in dollars. But yeah, if you're looking for kind of a business solution, you're probably going to be moving towards these here. Primarily because you get the apps. So do consider, unless you have the apps installed on your computer, you're not really going to be able to use Teams for anything other than chat. So these do include the apps as well, like your likes of Excel, PowerPoint, projects. So that's where the benefit really comes with this, and you can actually save on those applications if you do go through Teams. Now, that's for business. They also have different pricing for home use. So it depends if you're an independent person. Not really quite sure why you would need Teams if you're an independent or standalone entrepreneur, because unless you need to chat with people who also have Teams, that might not really work. But there are the options of having a personal license, even a family license. Chances are you're not really, if you're watching, you're not really looking at these kind of things. But do consider that it's slightly different. It's different like pricing structure as well. It's actually slightly more expensive in some respects. But you do get the apps as well. If I zoom in, it might show you. There you go. So yeah, you can review this. You could even pause the video and have a little look if you wanted to look at each one individually, or even head over to the website and you can look at those as well. So other customer reviews. So far I've given my kind of opinions. I really like Smartsheet. I think it's a fantastic solution. I also like Teams. I think Teams is really, really good for comms. But let's have a look at other customers or just other platforms actually, just to give it kind of more balance and just to hopefully so it doesn't kind of appear a little bit biased. So I've included G2 Crowd and Capterra. They're quite good review platforms. The way they kind of work is an amalgamation of loads of different independent reviews, which is why I quite like them. And if we compare them side by side, you'll actually notice they're very, very similar. So G2 Crowd's overall rating is 4.5 stars for Smartsheet, and they've given the same to Teams. When I say they've given the same, as I said, it's an amalgamation, but that's what they kind of result in. But they're both kind of top 50 companies in terms of what they do. If I zoom in here, yeah, in enterprise products, so it's a top 50 enterprise product. Same for Teams. That basically means that some of the biggest enterprises use them. And you'll see if you look down at the actual reviews on a kind of granular level, that they're actually very, very similar as well in terms of 5-star. There's obviously quite a few 4 stars, but yeah, it's very, very similar actually. I don't think there's much in it at all. And then if we look down at Capterra, they've actually given very, very similar reviews. I believe, 4.5 for overall, 4.4, ease of use kind of level 4.3. So yeah, I would, obviously I'm looking at high level here. If you really want to see other customer reviews, then probably head over to G2 Crowd and Capterra and just plug in Smartsheet and Teams respectively and see what other people are saying. You can get some kind of good feedback in there and specific comments on the platforms. If you did want to. But yeah, what I'm trying to show you really here is that they're actually both well respected in their own right. It just depends really what you need them for. So talking of that, recommendations. I personally believe Smartsheet is best for larger organizations with larger budgets and reporting needs. So if you're somebody who needs to provide dashboards, weekly status updates, or you want to just kind of really get into the detail and look at the data, then I actually think Smartsheet is going to be best for you. When I say larger organizations, it might be that you work for one as well. You might not necessarily be a large organization in your own rights, but if you work for a larger organization, then Smartsheet's probably going to be a lot more it's going to provide you a lot more functionality that you're going to need, and the automation and workflow is really, really beneficial. And you can really, you're going to look, if you kind of suggest going with Smartsheet, you're going to look really great basically to your senior stakeholders when it all kind of comes together. And I've put the bottom point there. If you've got lots of data and you want to use formulas and stuff, I would recommend Smartsheet because what you can then do with it in terms of the dashboarding. Teams, it is a communication tool. So sure, you can share documents, sure, you can build stuff and put it into Teams, but I do find it clunky in a way. If you've got lots of different files, it can be hard to find things. So for that reason, I suggest that it's better for small teams where you just really need to communicate and maybe have the odd document here and there. I also feel that where chat, messaging and calling is a priority, that's where Teams is going to play its part. You could have both of these alongside one another and that might work quite well, but just consider your budget. You might not even have the budget for that. I just think Teams really is probably better for your kind of standalone individual or small business where it's just a smaller operation essentially. But before I finish, I just want to say that you can get a free trial for Smartsheet. So if you head over to smartsheet.com, you can sign up for 30 days and just test it and see what you think. That's probably the best way to get an understanding if it's best for you. And I believe Teams, I've showed you can get a free account as well. Maybe just sign up and just explore the interface as well. And with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do hit the like button. That tells me I should continue making videos like this. And do hit the thumbs up as well, which I believe is the same thing that I'm talking about. And do consider subscribing to the channel. There's lots of videos like this on my channel all around project management and platforms which you might benefit from. So do consider subscribing. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll be notified of when I release videos like this. So with all that said, I hope you have an excellent day.